Hey, South Hills Church. I am so excited to be able to do a recap of what 2021 has been. And I have some team members here that I'd love to introduce to you. Ez is our central director. And what that means is ideally she keeps everything in line for all of our campuses. Adam Smith, who is our Corona campus pastor, but also serves on our central team on a branding scale for South Hills Church. Our newest add-on is Tess Carmichael, who is not only the wife to JR, our Burbank campus pastor, but Tess is actually our communications director for South Hills Church. And earlier today, I was able to meet with our campus pastors and letting them share their stories of life change they've seen at their campuses. And I'm excited for you guys to be able to hear from them as well. The reason why we get to have this moment is because of all of our members of South Hills Church who have trusted God with their finances. I just want to say thank you because we only get to do what we do because of you.
Because of your guys' generosity, we have been able to provide experiences on Sunday morning that over 200 people have said yes to Jesus this year alone. That's just one small step, one small number of what we've been able to do together.
Yeah, we've had over 81 people get baptized this year, which is another incredible step on people's faith journey.
Yeah, so many of you go through Discover 1, Discover 2 together, where you learn who we are as a local church, what we get to do together, and it's been really incredible.
One of the stories of our Idaho campus is a gentleman who was wrestling with how real was God. He had moved to Idaho out of Northern California area, and he was just really having a hard time getting adjusted. There was a message that Pastor Randy was sharing, and he recommitted his life to Christ and gave his life to Christ and wanted to have a fresh start, a new beginning. And then he decided he wanted to be baptized. And his family was so proud of him that they wanted to join him and be a part of the baptism with them. And so there was 8 people that were baptized, all because he made the decision to give his life to Christ and take the next step and be baptized.
We had someone show up on a Sunday morning, and when we met her, we got to know her name and, asked that question we ask oftentimes, is this your first time to South Hills? And she's like, well, it's my first time physically at South Hills. She's like, I've been watching online for a few months. I think it's such a cool thing that we as a church get to have that reach, that there's people that can check out who we are and learn about what we believe in a way that's safe and comfortable for them. And somehow they felt safe enough to take a step to show up in person. Out of all the difficult things that came out of last year, that's something that we came out stronger on the other side, that people have an opportunity to take a safe first step.
This couple that started coming, they were invited over Instagram to go to a growth group. And then of course, right as they're like, maybe we should start coming to this church, then the pandemic hits. And they had been watching online the whole time. Right before Family Month was the series that we did that was All Together Now. And I saw him the first weekend of the series, and I was just like so excited to have seen them. And watching him every single week, he couldn't wait to come tell me like, we gave for the first time this week. I signed up to serve, and the next week I see him and he's like ushering people in. It all culminated in the last weekend, which was the weekend we asked people to get baptized. And he got baptized with his wife. He went out on a limb and invited a handful of his friends. None of them are Christians, and they're standing right next to the tank watching this guy who a year and a half before didn't even know if he believed in God. And his non-Christian friends are cheering for like the life change they've seen in his life. And I talked to him afterwards about it and was like, man, what made the difference in your life? And the thing that he said was really powerful. It was everything. It was everything over the last 2 years. That is the beauty of people committed to our church and giving and investing on a consistent. You think about how many resources go into making everything happen in a 2-year period that changed this guy's family forever.
We've seen 515 different volunteers serve for more than 30,000 hours this year. Just blows my mind because it goes beyond just the walls of the church, but it then goes beyond and then outreach and continues to spread the message of Jesus outside of South Hills into the communities where our campuses are located, which is amazing.
In November, we got to do Love the 818 week, which is a really big thing in Burbank. And our campus showed up in a massive way. But over the course of the week, and we were able to bless the Burbank Police Department with just snacks and snacks and snacks. One of the police officers was confused. He was like, hey, so are you guys gonna send us the bill? And we were like, no, it's free. You guys can keep it. And he's like, why? And so we just wanted to bless you guys. And that was just super incredible to see, but it's made possible because of the generosity of so many people.
And I know that we also have been able to see great life change stories with our students and our children's, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've, as a church, been able to check in over 1,200 kids this year. Wow. So shout out to all our check-in teams out there.
That's a lot of parents feeling relief.
Like
just handing their children home.
Absolutely. And from that, over 600 of them came for the very first time this year.
Wow.
That is just like
That's
incredible.
unbelievable.
Yeah. This summer alone, we did VBS across so many of our campuses, and we had almost 200 kids register and attend VBS all over California.
Because of all of you who have trusted God with your finances, we get to share all these amazing stories of what God is doing in the hearts of so many people across all of our campuses. There is about 1,440 people from all of our campuses that regularly trust God with their giving. And this year alone, 540 of them have taken the first step of trusting God with their giving.
This couple came in after like 7 times of being invited, and they said no. And they came in on a Mother's Day, and they had tacos, and then the very next week they just came back to church. Nobody told them. They said, hey, I love the way South Hills does church. I fit in. And slowly but surely, they start growing, they start maturing, and we get into talking about finances. And he told me, you know what, the series that we do really has helped my growth. Now I have peace, and I give now, and it's just grown in so many ways that I have Jesus, and I can have take care of my family financially. And this is the way we get to impact lives, reach these unchurched people.
And this year we got to launch a new campus, Manhattan Beach.
Yes, that was another God story for sure.
There was a young man, and I know this young man been through a lot in his life, and he sets up, he tears down. I baptized him. Like, I just can't, I can't overemphasize the fact that, you guys, your campuses, our church, South Hills, set that in motion. And from that, I've personally heard 3 or 4 families say, our kids keep telling us on Sunday mornings, are we going to church? And all of them said, our kids have never said that.
There was a story from our Santa Clarita campus where Pastor Efren was remodeling the church, and there was this gentleman who had not yet necessarily made the church his church home yet. And so as they're there late one night, painting the church wall, Pastor Efren started having a conversation with them, and he started asking questions, and ultimately started just asking them, so how do I know if God's real? How do I know if God is for me? Pastor Efren answering these questions. And right there and then, he gave his life to Christ. Wow. And so sure enough, the next step after that was he wanted to be baptized and wanted the world to know that what he had done in his heart, and was baptized.
Being a pastor, and you get there, especially when you're a portable campus, well, you know this well, Ozzy, and it's just you're putting things together and you're putting stuff up, and you're like, man, I am so exhausted. I haven't even started speaking yet, and I'm already tired. And what's going to make this all worth it? And not too long ago, just last month, a couple came in, and after the message is over, they looked at me with tears in their eyes. They hugged me and they said, it feels good to be home. They didn't notice that we were in a temporary facility. They didn't notice anything that we didn't have. They just said, this is home. And it made putting every coffee thing out, but every chair set up, it made it all worth it knowing that they had finally arrived at home.
The biggest thing that happened this last year at South Hills, I guess in my opinion, is we got a new senior pastor. And so our founding pastor, Chris Songson, stepped away to go pursue some things with Church Boom. But I'm sure the question that you get all the time is okay, so what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? What things are you going to focus on in the year to come?
Looking into 2022, I know that we're going to take all these current stories that we're already doing and just build off of them. I know that we're going to take the current 12 campuses that we have and add to them. I'm not ready to share this information yet, but I know that there's 3 more campuses in the U.S. coming. Then on top of that, we already have one of our board members who's going to be traveling to a different country in January, and is already starting building a relationship for our next global campus. So I will say this, South Hills Church, Church. I will say this, we are going to change how we do our growth track beyond Sunday. Discover has been the terminology that we've been using up to this point. So we will have a portion of Discover that will remain the same, but it will be more of a first step introduction. What we're going to roll out is a much deeper, longer process to diving deeper into God's Word beyond a one-class setting. And so we're looking forward to adding some ministries in the future that are going to allow us to go further, to go deeper, to dive into community groups and be able to learn together with others and to see what God has in store for each and every one of us.
All the things that people love about South Hills that we're already doing, those things aren't going anywhere. We're just going to add to that some deepened experiences in the middle of the week so that people can go deeper in their faith and discover who they are.
Once again, I just want to take the moment to remind you that the only reason we get to share all of these amazing stories of life change is because of our South Hills family who has trusted God with their finances and has taken step one of being obedient and trusting God with their tithing. And I hope that as you've been hearing these stories, you have been inspired to continue to give, and as you look into 2022 and as you make plans for the future, that you would continue to make plans to trust God and to trust South Hills. And as we look forward to the future, I would love for you to ask God, is there another step that He's asking of you as we continue to grow and make an impact for all the communities that God will have in store for South Hills to make a difference in?